Hello, everyone. Dr. Mom, live from Kentucky. Wow, it's been a crazy 2 weeks. I have not been on here for at least 2 weeks. Um, Sold my house, went to mobile living. Uh, I wasn't even sure if I could go live, but it looks like I can. So I am live. Sorry about the interruption. I was going to try and stay with it, but it just got crazy towards the end. Had a lot going on. So today I'm just going to kind of do a quick, oh my goodness, so this is my Moving Forward series. We've been doing Women of the Bible, 52 Women of the Bible. And so this particular series is my Moving Forward series. And so I wanted to continue on because I think it's been almost 2 weeks. I am somewhat settled. I don't know, I don't know. Like there was a point in time that I sort of just had to throw stuff because the RV was too small. And so I don't even know where all my clothes ended up. Some of my makeup I had to buy new. A lot of new things is going on. But anyway, I'm going to get through this today. Go ahead and do the start up with, we're on number 19, and her name is spelled Michal. We looked it up. In Hebrew, it's Michal. Michal. Not Michelle or Michael. Michal, it sounds like Michal. So anyway, that's who we're starting with today. So I am a doctor of higher education, mom, grandma, friend, aunt. I'm doing this series to help others move forward, although it's helping me move forward just by staying on here. I am a Christian, so I'm studying the 52 Women of the Bible. I find it super interesting. If you're not, think of it as a historical document. So we basically are studying the Bible, but I'm doing a Bible study on 52 influential women of the Bible. I love studying women, historical women, because it helps to empower me. And I feel like if I'm being empowered, I can help others to be empowered. And I find it pretty incredible, the women of the Bible. So I'm going to just do a brief, if I can remember everything. It's been pretty crazy for me. I went from Idaho, which is dry and desert, to Kentucky, which is green and a little bit on the humid hot side. I think we finally got up to 80 in Idaho before I left. It's like 89 here. Let me see what it is today. 73, 84 today, and it's pretty humid, but so far I'm loving it. Loving being with my family. Okay, so we are on 19, Michal. And so we're going to go back through. We started with Adam and Eve. So we talked about Eve. Most people know the story of Eve, the story of her, meeting Satan in the Garden of Eden, and then they ate from the apple. And because of that, women have pain in childbirth at this point. The next one we talked about was Sarah and Abraham. Sarah, remember, she was pretty old, 90s, when God told her she was going to have a son. She didn't believe him and sort of laughed, right? So I think her name was Sarai, and then God named her to Sarah later on when she had the baby. When she doubted him, however, her handmaiden Hagar, she asked her to have a child with Abraham, and Hagar is our next. Hagar, so she asked her to, but later on regretted it because she was jealous, because Hagar became a little proud, and so did her. She ended up having a son. So there was a lot of problems with that, and I think the lesson there was we have to trust God no matter what, even in times when we're like, is this really, in my experience is it's a lot longer than you even realize. But look where I'm at now. By trusting him, he's taken me to a great place. I love what I'm doing. It's been pretty crazy, I'll be honest. Very crazy. Went from living in my house to putting up for sale, and that's been a little bit crazy so far. I got a few offers. They kind of fell through. Now I'm on the third offer, and we'll see what happens with that. So far, so good. I got into driving the RV for the first time. I had to think of it as just a big truck and not think of me having a actual house on the back that I was driving. Through Kansas was a little scary. It was high winds and tornadoes, threats of tornadoes going through. I ended up after a few hours of driving just staying in an RV park, which worked really well. I kind of watched everybody, how they hooked their things up, and I figured it out. So also I did some YouTubes and figured out how to empty the sewer and all that fun stuff. So I'm on my way. I'm having a problem with the hot water heater not working, so I'm going to take it somewhere here. I'll do my mobile series hopefully this weekend, although we're going to visit my daughter's in-laws. So hopefully I can do it. But tomorrow I will do an update on my bodybuilding, which is sort of got thrown out the window for a few weeks, which was scary. So I haven't been weighing in. I weighed in this morning and I was scared to do it, but I've only gained 5 pounds, so that's not bad. I'm back on it today. Okay, so Hagar basically got turned out by Sarah and Abraham, her and her son, and her son was sad. Of course, they thought they were going to die out in the desert, and God answered the son's prayers. They ended up going on to live a life of honor and became another nation. I believe it's in Egypt, but I don't swear to it. But they ended up having a great life and were being blessed. Then we talked about Lot's wife. Lot's wife, remember, she didn't believe God or the angels that told her not to look back at Sodom because the city was burning. She did anyway and turned to a pillar of salt. So the lesson there is, especially when angels tell you not to do something, don't do it. Then we talked about Rebecca. Rebecca, remember, she met a servant of Abraham's at a well, said all the right things, and ended up marrying Abraham's son, Isaac. Later on, so she ended up having 2 sons, Jacob and Esau, I believe, and later on, it's Jacob got the birthright. Remember, Rebecca talked him into deceiving his father, actually, and get the birthright. And then, so he had to take off, and Esau was following him to kill him. And so he went to another land where he met, I believe, Laban. And he fell in love with Rachel. Rachel was very beautiful. The younger daughter, Laban, he said, I will work for you for 14 years if you'll let me marry your daughter Rachel. So Laban said, sure, but he tricked him and gave him his older daughter Leah. Leah wasn't as beautiful as Rachel, but she was a great wife to him. So Leah ended up having several children, and Rachel couldn't have children for years, but then ended up giving Jacob two children, and it was Joseph and Benjamin. She died in the second childbirth of Benjamin, and so Leah ended up being the first wife at that point. So then we go into Tamar, daughter-in-law of Judah. Tamar, remember, so Judah actually married into the Canaanites, which God told him not to. Had 3 boys. The first one, was married to Tamar, and he died, and then the second one died. And Judah had promised Tamar that he would marry her to his third son so she could have children. He didn't do that, so she tricked. Judah was sort of into prostitutes. So Tamar dressed like one, tricked him into getting her pregnant. She ended up having 2 twins. And then we go on to, and one thing to remember is this is, we're following the lineage of Christ through all these women. This author, who, let me give her credit, Jean Siswarda. She is following the lineage of Christ and how God kept it pure. And so we go on to Potiphar's wife. So also, when it's referred to as their wife, Lot's wife, Potiphar's wife, for some reason we don't know their names, but we do know their stories, and it's a lesson. So Potiphar's wife was another one that she wanted to Joseph. So Joseph was a handsome man. Remember, Rachel was beautiful. Joseph was Rachel's son, and he was handsome, very handsome. He worked in the main Potiphar. He worked for Potiphar, who was one of the main rulers at that time in Egypt, I believe. And there was a famine in the land and all those things. Well, Potiphar's wife wanted Joseph, and Joseph said, no way. She actually wanted to sleep with him, and so she tricked him, grabbed his towel while he was running, or cloth, while he was running away. Later on, she lied and said he was trying to have sex with her. So Joseph was basically put in the Pharaoh's kingdom, where it turned out good later on because Joseph was really blessed in all things that he did. Okay, then we go on to the mothers of Moses. He had two mothers, remember, because Moses, the Pharaoh, when he came into power, decided that he didn't want all the male Egyptian Israelite babies to live. And so he said, I want you to kill all the firstborn of the Israelites. And so because Jochebed, Moses's mother, couldn't do that, she put him in the Nile, right, and built a basket. And the Pharaoh's daughter found him and raised him. And a lot of us know the story of Moses. So then we talk about Miriam. Miriam was Moses' older sister. She was jealous of Moses, and she had her own things going on, right? But she also watched Moses and made sure that Jochebed, Moses' real mom, was able to breastfeed him until he was a certain age. So that was pretty cool. Okay, then we get to, and we're at number 12, which is Rahab. Oh boy, let's see if I can remember. Rahab. Okay, Rahab was also a heroine because she was at the outskirts of the city. She was a businesswoman, prostitute. But when the Israelites were coming through after they had been released, she helped save them so that they didn't get killed. And so she later on, I believe, married, she was also part of the lineage. I believe she married Samuel, if I'm not mistaken. And then we talked about Deborah. Deborah was a warrior and a judge at that time, which is pretty progressive, right? She ended up releasing the Israelites once again after 40 years of captivity because she fought against the army. Then we talked about Jael, and she was also a very brave woman. So when Deborah killed the whole army that were trying to go against the Israelites, there was just one man that escaped, and he was the ruler, and he went to this Jael's husband's tent for shelter. She invited him in, gave him milk. When he fell asleep, she put a tent peg through his head and killed him because she was a believer of God. Then we go on to Delilah. Samson, remember, he had hair that couldn't be cut. She deceived him, found out where he was very powerful and no one could conquer him. So his enemies, Samson's enemies, talked Delilah into tricking him. She found out that his power came from his hair, got it cut, and then he never had the same power again. Naomi is next. Naomi was, oh goodness, So, and these are all people in the lineage of Christ. So Naomi had two daughter-in-laws, Ruth and another one. Naomi lost both her husband and her two sons. Ruth was one of her daughter-in-laws, and she told both of them, I'm going back to where I came from. You guys go back to your home. And Ruth ended up saying, no, I'm going with you wherever I go. So she loved Naomi. So that's Naomi and Ruth are tied together. They ended up going to a certain, gosh, and I don't know where all these places are. I should have looked it up, but they go back to where Naomi's from, and Ruth went with her. They ended up, Boaz was a wealthy farm owner and Naomi's relative. And so she ends up sort of feeding the chain for Ruth to marry him. So Boaz was a wealthy bachelor, and he ended up falling in love with Ruth, married her, and they had a son. Okay, and then Naomi loved the son and was happy again. Okay, and then we came. Then next is Hannah. And I looked at Hannah and I'm like, I don't really remember the story. So her name was Gracious or Favor. Provoked by another woman's malice, she refused to respond in kind. Instead, she poured out her hurt and sorrow to God, allowing him to vindicate her. She was the second wife of Elkanah, Penelope. So it looks like Hannah was also not able. Okay, so she named, okay, that's Samuel's mother. Okay, so Hannah was Samuel's mother. So she ended up being able to have children after that. So, okay, and now today we're going to Michal. Michal, I believe is how you say it. Okay, so today's story, we're talking about, her name means who is like God. Her character, she's a woman of strong emotion. She was unable to control the important circumstances of her life. Forcibly separated from two husbands, she lost her father, her brother, who were savaged by their enemies. So, you know, I started reading where we're at, and I need to do more research. I say that all the time. At least I'm back on live, and so I promise at this point things are going to start settling down a little bit. I'll be here for a couple weeks, and then I'm going to Minnesota. Should be for a couple months, and I'll be settled for a little while. So my apologies. I'm trying to stay with it. It's just been pretty crazy. Okay, so we're in 1 Samuel 18 and then 2 Samuel 6. And we're talking about Michal. And so we're almost to King David. So in fact, this is Saul's daughter, Michal, and she was in love with David. So now we're getting closer to the birth of Christ, right? So this is Michal, who was in love with David. I will give her to him, Saul thought, so that she may be a snare to him. Well, that's not a good thing, right? When Saul realized that the Lord was with David and that his daughter Michal loved David, Saul became still more afraid of him, and he remained his enemy the rest of his days. Michal, David's wife, warned him, if you don't run for your life tonight, tomorrow you'll be killed by my father. So she must have loved David more than her loyalty to her father, because she told him. Saul became still more afraid of him. Okay, if you don't run for your life tonight, tomorrow you'll be killed. So Michal let David down through a window, and he fled and escaped. Then Saul gave his daughter Michal, David's wife, to Paltiel. Then David sent messengers to Ishbosheth, son of Saul, demanding, give my wife Michal. So Ishbosheth gave orders and had her taken away from her husband. Paltiel, son of Lash. Wow, these names are rough. Sorry. Her husband, however, went with her, weeping behind her all the way. So her dad, Saul, ended up giving her to someone else. This other man wanted her and was weeping that she was taken away. Okay, so then Abner said to him, "Go back home." So he went back. As the ark of the Lord was entering the city of David, Michal, daughter of Saul, watched from a window. And when she saw King David leaping and dancing before the Lord, she despised him in her heart. Okay. So Michal's life and times. Now, from what I've read so far, trying to get caught up, it seems like Michal loved King David, but King David, it doesn't have him being so much in love with her. Now, I know in David's story, there's one part where he does fall in love with this other woman. So I don't know if we're leading up to that, but I'm guessing. Okay, when David brought the Ark of the Covenant to Jerusalem after it had been in Philistine hands for a number of years, and after a faithful earlier attempt to move it, he did so with a deep sense of awe. The ark was moved only 6 steps before he stopped and sacrificed a bull and a fattened calf. Then as the priests brought the ark into Jerusalem, David danced before the Lord with all his might. And the people with him shouted and blew on trumpets. David's worship of the Lord was neither subdued nor restrained. The Psalms of praise he wrote also reveal his deep love for God, a love so all-encompassing it could not be contained, but burst forth in exuberant worship. Now, if I'm not mistaken, David was also the one who slew Goliath. I shouldn't say it if I don't know for sure, but I think so. He always loved the Lord and was a faithful servant. David's worship of the Lord was neither subdued nor restrained. Okay, sacrifices and offerings were an important part of worship in Old Testament times. Since sin separated the worshiper from God, sacrifice was needed to reestablish the relationship and make true worship possible. The response of praise to God took several forms. Prayer, as when Solomon dedicated the temple, 1 Kings 8, praise and singing as individuals, 2 Samuel 23:1, and in choirs, Nehemiah 12, praise with musical instruments, Psalms 150, and praise with dancing. But God makes it clear that he won't be satisfied with only the forms of worship. Sacrifices and music and dancing have no meaning apart from a heart and life truly dedicated to the Lord. God's words to the prophets, Michal, clearly states this truth. With what shall I come before the Lord and bow down before the exalted God? Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with calves a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, with 10,000 rivers of oil? Shall I offer my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? He showed you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, and to love mercifully, and to walk humbly with your God. Michal's contempt for her husband David reveals her own lack of true dedication. She was content to be a critical spectator rather than a true worshiper of God. Our lives and times. Whenever anyone puts appearances or tradition or form above a true desire to worship our God and Savior, we'd best step carefully and read the words of God to Michal the prophet, which are as true for us today as they were in the Israelites of the prophet's day. Okay, I don't know. I'm going to read some of these questions. What do you think attracted Michal to David so that she fell in love with him? I don't know. One can surmise that he was a good-looking man. He had power. Maybe the power she was attracted to, maybe his independence, and I don't know. It's hard to say. Maybe she thought she would be taken care of. It's hard to say. So I think that's probably all that really I'm going to read of that part. I found a few other places on my laptop that I think kind of gives us a good storyline, anyway, of where we're at in the Bible, because that's what I like. I kind of like to know, where are we at? So this is womeninthebible.net. It's talking about what was Michal's story. Loving the wrong man is what it talks about, which we don't want to do that, do we? Or a woman. She grew up as a tribal princess. Her father was King Saul, her mother Ahinoamah. Okay, so that tells a lot. She was a tribal princess. So I think she was used to getting her own way, right? She fell passionately in love with David, but there is no mention of him responding. Saul offered her to David, almost certainly on her prompting. Saul demanded a bride price of 100 Philistine foreskins. Wow. Goading David into a dangerous task. Okay, David was already close friends with Michal's brother Jonathan. David got the foreskins. How? It just says how. That's interesting, isn't it? Ooh. And married Michal. Saul and David quarreled and David fled. Michal took sides with David against her father and saved David's life. Okay, that tells us a little more. David became a fugitive on the run, but he did not contact her or send for her. David took other wives, and Michal realized she had been discarded, not much more than David's stepping stone to power. Sometime later, Michal remarried and had a successful and loving marriage. Well, so that's interesting. I thought that he did send for her. Saul was at war with the Philistines. He and his 3 sons were killed. Michal was now in a precarious position. One of Saul's sons, her brother Ishbaal, was still alive, but he was young and inexperienced. She was without any strong protection. David took the capital, Hebron, and opposed Saul's one remaining son, Ishbaal. David demanded that Michal return to him. Okay, that's where that is. Possession of Saul's daughter would enhance his claim to the throne. So he didn't seem to be in love with her, but he wanted her for the power that she brought with him, right? Which is kind of sad. So Michal was reunited with David by force. Her husband was brokenhearted to lose her. David murdered Michal's brother Ishbaal. Michal was virtually a prisoner in David's harem. Michal was virtually a prisoner in David's harem. So he didn't love her, but he kept her prisoner, basically. David established Jerusalem as his capital, moved the ark to Jerusalem. David behaved in an unkingly and indecent way in the ark procession. Michal reproved him and then had a blazing quarrel. Michal continued to live in the harem, but she never had any children. Oh, see, that's kind of sad. Okay. So, well, it said, I don't know. Okay. The other one says she later remarried. So that's interesting. I don't know. Okay. So that's the story. So we're at the place where David established Jerusalem. And the Ark of the Covenant is there with God. It shows this great big building where the harem of King David lived, which couldn't have been easy, right? I forgot, you guys, I usually do quotes. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get reestablished. I'm trying to get grounded again after my big move, and I can't find anything in the RV. It's crazy, but I am feeling like I'm starting to get a little more grounded. I still have a lot to do. I have to pick up a lot. A new iPhone, I got to get internet going. Okay. This is Michal quotes. We don't always know why God allows trials, which is true in our life. We do know he wants us to trust him. Arrow prayers darted heavenward. We don't know. Okay. There was power in music, as though the Lord had given humanity an inner pulse that beat only with the rhythmic cadence of song, a force that flowed through him to the people. That's so true. I love, love, love music. Love music. I guess, with Michal, it's sort of like, I don't know. I think I could have done quotes on, maybe do quotes on trusting God no matter what your trials, because I'm sure at this point she was going through trials and loved the wrong man, right? But evidently God wanted David, to be with someone else. So maybe quotes on staying faithful no matter what. I don't know. That's hard, huh? And there's a lot of them. If you truly love someone, being faithful is easy. So Christians do not have to live. They have only to be faithful to Jesus Christ, not only until death, but unto death if necessary. So commitment means staying loyal to what you said you were going to do long after the mood you said in it has left you. That's me too, right? Ooh, boy, it's been hard. Like, I knew that I had to get back on here, but it was kind of like, it was just difficult. It was a little difficult. It is right now. So I'm a little disorganized, and I apologize. A relationship is like a house. When a light bulb burns out, you don't go and buy a new house. You fix the light bulb. I really like that. I like that. Real men stay faithful. They don't have time to look for other women because they're too busy looking for new ways to love their own. Oh, that's really good, you guys. I like this too. You deserve someone who is utterly obsessed with you. That's cool. As long as you're good to them, right? Okay. Okay. Loyalty is rare. If you find it, keep it. That's a really good one too. Okay, I did look sort of in the Bible. I read a little bit of that, but it doesn't say a lot about Michal. It talks more about King David, so I didn't think I would do that. I am going to go ahead and read from our devotions because we haven't done that. Geez, yesterday was my birthday and I forgot it was. I can't even believe it's Thursday already. It's just been a crazy time in my life. Crazy, but awesome and exciting, right? Okay, so today's May 27th. I lost my Fitbit charger. Seek my face at the beginning of your day. This practice enables you to put me on and wear me throughout the day. Most people put on clothes soon after rising from bed. Simply, the sooner you put me on by communicating with me, the better prepared you are for whatever comes your way. To wear me is essentially to have my mind, to think my thoughts, ask the Holy Spirit to control your thinking, be transformed by this renewal within you. Thus, you are well equipped to face whatever people and situations I bring your way. Clothing your mind in me is your best preparation for each day. This discipline brings joy and peace to you and those around you. We're in Psalms 27:8, Romans 13:14, and Colossians 3:12. I also got some news today on Facebook that a friend and she's been going through quite a bit, but she lost 2 family members fairly close. And this my heart goes out to her, and my prayers. Grief is difficult. That's why we're doing this, right? Because my life was changed profoundly 5.5, almost 6 years ago. I move forward, but people don't always move forward, do they? And so I'm trying to help others to move forward, which is grounded. When I was doing my 100 videos on Facebook, a group of my very dear friends, we worked together to create the series that we're going to be doing. As soon as I can get more established and my webpage set up, I'm going to be doing the series on moving forward. And so the foundation, the three principles we established was, in order to help you move forward, you need a very strong foundation. You need to build and continue building a strong foundation. Goal setting's very incredibly important, and constant personal self-development. Reading, I don't know, mentors, YouTube, whatever you have to do to make your life stronger to help you move forward. And we talked about how, building spirituality, making that stronger so that when things do come along in your life, you can still continue to move forward without falling apart. And sometimes that's just getting out of bed. That's what it was for me. Putting your feet on the ground and moving forward one step at a time. Because it's difficult, but it's important. So that's why we're here, is to help you build a strong foundation. And hopefully once I get a little more settled, I will start my series, although it's kind of, this summer has been crazy and it's kind of looking like maybe fall, September before I get the series going. I'm going to be mobile, moving around quite a bit. If I can figure out how to get, now it's getting more solid, everything's set up in my RV, I'll be able to, I'm going to get a good camera and system. Although this computer, I think, saying here, it's really big. It's hard to, everything, if you don't have it fastened down, moves in an RV. My dog and cat are like, I'm staying up here because things keep falling everywhere. We're getting it situated though, so it's pretty exciting though. Okay, guys, I think that's all I have today. I'm glad I was able to get on. Tomorrow we're talking about Abigail. Her name means my father is joy. 1 Samuel we're in again. Let's see. I'm not sure. Okay, it still has to do with David. David was a major character in the Bible, and so that's what we're talking about tomorrow, and it is still on David. If I have time, I'll try to read a little more and provide a little more information as to where we are in the Bible. To kind of, it helps me get grounded, but okay, I love you. I'm so glad I was able to get on here today and start again. Hopefully there won't be any interruptions. Like I said, I'm going to try to do one this weekend. We'll see what the internet's like where I'm going. Because there's got to be some way, I'm getting a new iPhone. There's got to be some way I can get internet access wherever I'm at nowadays, right? So we'll see what happens. Okay, you be blessed. My prayers are with you. Thank you for praying for me and my new journeys. Much love. Have a wonderful Thursday. Okay, bye.